day 10, and we're on Genesis 6:2. And I'll be presenting some different translations here because there's disagreements on how to translate this and what this all means. Genesis 6:2, where we find B'nai Ha-Elohim. So here it's being translated as the divine beings, and other places you'll see it as like the elite of mankind, the children of the princes or the judges, those with a high standing in society, and those with some, like the learned men, we'll say. And you'll see here the daughters of, not Adam, but Ha-Adam, so like daughters of, it seems to be like the general population. So the divine beings here saw how beautiful the daughters of men were and took wives from among those that pleased them. And we learned that they were basing this just on the physical appearance, and they didn't even care if they were married or not. They took advantage of these women. So let's look at another translation. Here it's translated B'nai Ha-Elohim as the sons of the nobles saw the daughters of man when they were beautifying themselves, and they took for themselves wives from whomever they chose. It says here, the sons of the princes and the judges. So you only find B'nai Ha-Elohim 4 times in the entire Tanakh. So in our verse, and then in 6:4 of Genesis, alongside the daughters of Adam again, and then the only other 2 times are in Job 1:6 and Job 2:1. Let's check out some translations of those. And again, they're translating it as divine beings here. One day, the divine beings presented themselves before the Lord, and the adversary came along with them. And the adversary here is Ha-Satan, the Satan, the inner adversary. And another translation, now the day came about, and the angels of God, that's how they're translating B'nai Ha-Elohim here, came to stand beside the Lord, and the adversary too came among them. Okay, and again, this is Ha-Satan. And in 2:1, they presented themselves before the Lord, and the adversary came along with them to present himself before the Lord. So these verses are almost identical. And again, we saw earlier in Genesis, we had B'nai Ha-Elohim, always followed by the daughters of man. And here in Job, we have it here always followed by, or always with Ha-Satan. And again, here it's translated as, now the day came about that the angels of God came to stand beside the Lord, and the adversary too came among them to stand beside the Lord. I wanted to focus, because this is how we started with B'nai, so like children of or sons of Ha-Elohim. Let's look and see how many times that shows up in the entire Tanakh, this exact combination of Hebrew letters. So 366 times. You'll notice that it doesn't show up until Genesis 5:22, where Enoch is walking with Ha-Elohim, and then we see later this form used again, but this time also with this form without the extra hay in 5:24, where God takes him. Okay, so 366 times. Whereas without the hay, it's, from the very first verse of the Torah. And multiple times, this is the force that's in charge for the first 7 days of creation. Interestingly, you can find B'nai Elohim without this He also in Job 38:7. So let's check that out quickly. And this is where God asks this question. I'm gonna read this because it's good. Who is this who gives dark counsel with words without knowledge? Where were you when I founded the earth? Tell if you know understanding. Who placed its measures if you know, or who extended a line over it? On what were its sockets sunk, or who laid its cornerstone? So he's talking about the entire creation of the universe. When the morning stars sing together and all the angels of God shout. So this is how it's being translated here, again, as angels of God. And it says, when they sing together from the beginning, the stars of light.